We Americans are divided by political party, religion, and social class to keep us from ever figuring out the real cancer in American culture, the cause of nearly every American war and the mother of today's corruption.
It's the Federal Reserve, okay? 0.5% of the citizens of this country own more assets than the bottom 90%. That's all happened over the last 10 years since 2008. The Federal Reserve, by the way, that's owned not by the American people, a central bank that's owned by 24 prime brokers, being JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. How does that work? We don't need to audit the Fed. We need to end the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has usurped its power and the power of the American people and our elected representatives. And no, they do not have the consent of the governed. We will not comply, we will not submit, and it must be ended.
The Federal Reserve banking system introduced the most destructive form of usury the modern world has ever known, a debt-based currency designed to rob and enslave entire nations. The Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air, and this has given the crooks who wield it the power and influence to create their own corporate government within the United States. And the IRS has made every hard-working American into a criminal, guilty until proven innocent. The IRS was always seen as unconstitutional, but in 1913, the powers of the IRS were weaponized and made de facto law by the 16th Amendment, never properly ratified, which states that the government can collect a percentage of everyone's income. Over 50% of Americans refuse this unconstitutional amendment, but the IRS will come after you. They have a long reputation for targeting religious groups and political opponents, and it's only looking to get much worse. The Inflation Reduction Act guarantees more inflation, with the billions of dollars required to be printed out of thin air. And while local police are defunded so that violent criminals are set free, the IRS is being funded to hire over 80,000 new agents to make sure everyone is paying their taxes. And they have recently bought 5 million rounds of ammunition. They are building their own police force to execute search warrants, make arrests, and exert the use of deadly force. While many liberal progressives may argue that the crimes of the Federal Reserve are necessary, they are hurting people worldwide. Because it's the world's reserve currency, 40% of international transactions are in USD. And as the Fed continues pushing the illusion of a strong dollar, the rest of the world is made poor. If the Americans don't remedy the situation soon, then the international community has a reasonable excuse to get involved. The entire international fiat system is collapsing, and the crooks responsible will be selling us a new centralized digital currency, which is obviously another trap. But the alternative is simple: restore the constitutional republic to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty with sound money backed by gold and silver. End the Fed, the IRS, the CIA, the FBI. It's written right there on your $100 reserve note. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government that will most benefit their safety and happiness.
What is the highest federal income tax any American should have to pay?
Well, we should have the lowest tax that we've ever had, and up until 1913 it was 0%. What's so bad about that? Now, I would like to follow up on that because I think the question on taxes is generally misleading because anytime you spend money, it's a tax. You might tax, you might borrow, you might inflate. The vicious tax is attacking the American people, the retired people today, is the inflation tax. The devaluation of the currency, the standard of living is going down, and you need to address that. And that's why I want to make the inflation tax zero as well.
So your answer is zero.
Zero.
Our hardworking population never seems to catch a break. We play by the rules, do everything right, dedicate ourselves to our jobs, and yet our incomes do not keep pace with the cost of living. Our monthly bills only get higher and higher, and our quality of life is on a steady decline. It almost feels like, despite all of the effort, the American dream is totally out of the reach of most Americans. And the worst part of it is that the vast majority of us will probably have to work until we die. Worsening retirement crisis plaguing the United States means that over half of the population will never be able to hang their work hats up to relax and to enjoy their senior years. And many of those who do retire face the risk of falling into poverty in old age as they run out of funds and Social Security benefits fail to provide an adequate safety net for everyone. On top of that, given that the price of pretty much everything we buy and consume on a daily basis continues to reach one record high after the other, and the fact that 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, it's never been harder for U.S. workers to start saving for retirement. In other words, today's cost of living crisis will be tomorrow's retirement crisis, and all of us are going to be dramatically affected by it. That's what we're going to expose today. Before moving on, please support our work with a thumbs up on this video and